So let me fix that. There we go. The joy of live broadcast and the wrath of the demo gods visited upon us once again. Thank you very much. This is Let's Talk Security. I'm Rik Ferguson. It's difficult to believe that a week has gone by already since last week's great conversation with Katie Masuris from Looter Security. We have another fantastic guest for you this week. I suppose, like many of you, my perception of time has been completely altered by lockdown and by the global pandemic situation. I guess that's why a week flies by. There's very little to differentiate day from day when we're stuck in the same place. I hope you're all healthy. I hope you're well. And I hope you're looking forward to today's conversation as much as I am. We have a great guest for you today. If you've seen any of the promo materials, you will know that that is Jayson Street, author, hacker, adventurer. He's been a celebrated speaker at events around the world for many, many years. I've had the good fortune to meet Jayson in person, but I've had the misfortune not to get an awkward hug from Jayson when I did meet him. And I think the time has come for me to ask him live, Jayson, why did that not happen? Where was my hug?
I'm one of those guys. It's like where it's like you have to ask for it. It's like I always hug my friends normal first. It's like, and then it gets awkward. So it's like, but awkward hugs are always available upon request. It's like so next time for sure.
So is that still a thing? Are you still doing the awkward hugs? Because you have some great war stories, right, around that.
I'm still doing it for quite a bit. It's like it makes me more accessible. I think it's like it's a good icebreaker for people who wouldn't normally come up to me and say, "Hey, I would like to talk to you," but they go like, "Oh no, he's just." They go, "But I can ask for an awkward hug," and then they go and ask for the awkward hug, and it's like, and then we can start a conversation, and that's one of the main reasons why I like it.
How did it start? How did you begin doing that?
It started because of Megan Wu. I think it was DEFCON 19. Megan Wu was going into surgery, I think. It's like she wasn't able to make DEFCON. So I was like, well, I'm going to give out hugs in your honor. It's like, and I put them on Twitter. It's like, hey, it's like, here's a hug. It's like, and I did different kinds of hugs in, but most of them that were, I think most appreciated were the awkward hugs. So, because, Dave Kennedy, he started the hug movement. I just made him awkward. And so it's like, so I started doing these awkward hugs. And then after DEFCON 19, it sort of faded away. And then besides Dallas, besides DFW, it's like there was Wendy Nather, who was in the hospital. It's like, so I was like, oh, well, I'll bring the awkward hugs back. And that right then is where it took off. It's like everybody we had a big group awkward hug. People just loved getting the awkward hugs. Huh?
It's a badge of honor now. Awkward hug from Jayson Street. That's like
awkwardhugs.org. It's like I've awkward hugged Oliver Stone. Huh?
That's better than a con badge, right? If you feature on awkward hugs. That's why I'm so distressed I didn't get one.
Huh?
That's why I'm so distressed I didn't get one.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry you didn't get one, but I will make sure you get one next time. It's like I plan on running into you again at some point somewhere.
Yeah, when the world is back to normal. Speaking of back to normal and the world and the pandemic, how has lockdown been for you?
I'm not one of those. I'm one of those unfiltered guys. So it's like I'll tell you straight out, not great. It's like it's been pretty rough, but I'm coping, and a lot of people have it harder than me. And so, and that's not to negate what I'm going through or to belittle what everybody else is going through. Mm-hmm. We're all going through our own things, by ourselves at one point, or we're friends, but we're having to face that, these circumstances. So, I mean, I'm adjusting. It's like I'm trying to cope with it. It's like I'm just trying to focus on what's important, which is, being around people that you care about. It's like doing good work and trying to be of service to other people. It's like I've been 3D printing a lot of PPE gear for nursing homes in the area. Yeah. It's like, and I've just been trying to help out where I can. It's like volunteer to give talks. It's like just trying to I did the hashtag, spread smiles, not COVID. So it's like I'm just trying to be a little bit of a beacon out here because it's pretty bleak.
That's great. And there was some, I guess, like many of us, you had events and attendances and talks and projects planned over this period. What's been the impact on that side of things for you?
I wish you would have. It's been the most brutal, to be honest with you. I should have been like in 4 different countries already. It's like, and I love to travel ever since I was little. Since I was 10, it's like I just dreamed of traveling, and it's like, and it gets exhausting sometimes, but it's what I always wanted. It's like this is a promise that I'm fulfilling for the promise I made to my 10-year-old self to survive, get through it, and it's like, and you could explore the world, and so I'm trying to do that. But this year has been, I mean, I was supposed to go to like Dublin, which is like I've never been before, and I wanted to go see. I was supposed to be teaching at Black Hat Asia. I wanted to go to Singapore. It's like I was supposed to be in Moscow. It's like, I mean, there's been several countries that I should. I mean, it's just, I don't think I'm going anywhere. I think everything's getting canceled. It's like I just got the thing from Copenhagen today, where they're going online, which is good, and that's the other thing. That's the key thing, though. That's good. That's important for the community. That is important. They're putting in the attendees' health and the speakers' health and the organizers. They're putting the public good first before the conference. It's like the same thing with DEF CON being put into safe mode with networking. It's not being canceled. It's just we have to change. We're hackers. We adapt. It's like, and so we need to adapt to make it safe for everybody. So and accessible for all. So I can't be upset about that part, but I am upset about the expiration. I'm upset about being stir crazy and stuck in my place and not being able to go out and meet people and network and hug.
What's been kind of cool for me is that what we've effectively seen has been like a physical disaster recovery plan for the educational aspect of the information security industry, right? We've been able to see, when I looked at my own calendar, what happened in the first month of when lockdown kind of went global. My calendar emptied itself. All these things were just like falling out of the calendar and emptying. And I'm like, wow, I'm not going to have much to do that doesn't involve just reading and writing. And then within 3 weeks, it began to fill itself back up as all of these events kind of rebooted, reimagine themselves and move to this online virtual format, and people are really learning as they go, but the events are still happening and the community is still coming together, which is testament to the community as a whole, I think, right?
Oh yeah, exactly. It's like it leave it to the, I mean, and it's just not even the hacker community. It's like, I think a lot of people are realizing that everybody has a little bit of hacker, inside them. It's like, I mean, I've always said that you were born a hacker. It's like that childlike curiosity, that childlike wonder, that childlike, yeah, this is what I'm told it's supposed to do, but maybe I can do something different, and have the imagination that you can make it different. It's like, and so you see that adaptation with the classrooms going online. It's like, and so many companies are starting to realize, oh, I guess that could have been an email. It's like, so you're seeing, it's like, oh, we did not have to have this open office space. It's like we could have had work from home. So you're seeing the adaptations.
I've seen things like even within Trend Micro. So one of the things, it's like a pendulum, right? So when I said my calendar emptied itself, the pendulum's all the way over here. It starts to refill. The pendulum is swinging back. It's things like using tools like Zoom within the workplace.
Oh, yes.
I guess Trend is not the only company now where certain groups within the organization have started to do like Zoom Free Friday, for example. So we can actually get some work done, and we're not spending time sitting in video conference calls all day, compensating for the lack of a working environment. Anyway, you spoke about fulfilling a childhood dream, and traveling was part of that. You have been involved in security in various guises for many, many years. I'm not insinuating that you're old, but you're old.
It's been 30.
Seriously, you've had a long and storied career, and if you go look at your LinkedIn, for example, you started out effectively in security anyway. You started out in sort of network security admin type roles. Is that right?
Yeah, network security administrator. They let me choose the name, and I wanted NSA, so it's like a network security administrator. I was the NSA for the company,
and it's been a good 20 years, right?
Yes.
So you've seen
20. I started in 2000. Is when I first got my first job in information security at an internet-only bank.
And from my experience, that the 2000 was kind of I started a little before that. So I saw, the era of Melissa and Love Letter and Blaster and all of those old, the
I saw
malware.
that from the help desk guys.
Yeah.
The help desk side. Yeah.
Totally. That's where I was. Totally.
Yeah.
So how did your rock, because I know my career has taken all kinds of weird twists and turns over time. How did yours evolve over time? Because I know that you were doing the network security admin stuff, but at the same time, you were doing the hacker for hire stuff.
Right.
So how is that? And like I said, 2000 was kind of a pivotal year in the transition from things like Melissa and Blaster to cybercrime as a business model and as a global phenomenon. So how did you see your role evolve over time? What are the important tectonic shifts that you've seen across that time?
I think one of the biggest shifts that you've seen change in information security is the different ways that we looked at the role based. It's like before it was all about the perimeter. It's like, I mean, back in 2000, you had to have the firewall, you had to have the perimeter, you had to have everything locked down because everything was coming at you. And I think now it's evolved to the point we realize what perimeter. It's like every endpoint is a perimeter now. It's like every endpoint has to be protected because you don't know where that endpoint is anymore. It's no longer within the confines of your firewall or your castle. It's like a lot of medieval references for some reason, but it's like, it's like it's all there. It's like, it's like, and we've talked. I mean, you've heard so much. It's like in all the different ways. It's like security is like an ogre. We've got layers. It's like, well, the same thing with the layers is the we're understanding that that's not even the case anymore. It's all compartments. It's all compartmentalized. It's all going to be where you can't trust this part of the network because it goes and it has extranet connections to other partners that may not have the same security model as you do. And so we're having to learn and go from being one big homogenous group that's protected under this one shield to being, no, we have to start making sure the encampments are protected as well, even with inside the walls.
And of course, you've got complications from public cloud environments and
yes,
evolutions within that architecture as well. The way that we actually design and build, going from infrastructure as a service to containerization and serverless environments, all of that kind of being drawn together. We have a question that came from YouTube from David Byrne. He is asking, what is the first thing that Jayson hacked? And I guess this is going to be down to your interpretation of hacked, because I know
exactly, because there's two,
right? What's the first thing you hacked and why? That's the question that came in.
I'll give them two different options. The true answer for a hacker because I believe, like I said, I firmly believe it's like we generalize too much in saying that hacker is just got to be a computer, or it's just got to be about security, or that's not just hacking. It's like, so my first hack was when I was 5 years old, and I hated Hot Wheels. I didn't like cars that much back then. It's like I liked spaceships. And so my mother, not caring, decided, well, no, this is what you get because you're a boy, you get cars. And so, because she did not know how to handle boys, so she was like, you get cars. So I hacked them, and by taking the wheels off and modifying them, sometimes with glue or sometimes with like tape or something like that, and I turned my cars into spaceships. It's like, or hover cars. It's like, so it's like, these are now my spaceships. So I'd take all the wheels off, and it's like, and I made them mine. And my second hack,
because I have full sympathy for that story. One of the things that I got as a kid was in the US, I think you call it a foosball table. We call it table football. Foosball, right? Yeah. Turn it right. So I got one of those. I hate football. I'm just, if it's got to be a team sport, it's always going to be rugby. I'm not a soccer fan by any imagination. But because I'm a boy, I got a table football thing. So I left it in the box, but I turned the box over and I used a big Sharpie, a big marker pen to draw all of my spaceship controls on the back of the box.
There you go.
Cool. Same thing.
That's the way it works. And my my second hack was, my first computer hack was 311. It had that's how back in the ancient days, it's like there was a program manager It's like in 311, and it's like all these little groups. And so what I did was I took all the icons, changed them to fantasy characters. One Army of Light, the other Army of Darkness, and I literally turned and took all the program managers out and changed the way the GUI looked. And it's like, and I made them looking like they were facing a battlefield. And so if you wanted something, you had to click on the knight, or you had to click on the dragon, or the castle. It's like, or one of the elves. It's like to access a program. And then I did a lot of GUI hacking more than I did any other kind of hacking back in the day, because I liked changing things and making them look not what they're supposed to look like. So it's like, so my Linux looked like Mac, my Mac looked like Windows, that kind of thing.
Yeah, I used to do similar. Whenever I was forced to use a Windows machine, I used to try and make it look as much as I could like a Mac desktop, to be honest.
Oh my God, Lightstep. I'm sorry, Lightstep. Yeah. I loved Lightstep.exe back in the day. It was a complete shell replacement. And it's like you could use it like Lightstep Linux. I loved it.
So we spoke about the hacker for hire stuff that was running concurrently with your more traditional role, if you like, and for a long time. What did that involve? This was pre, as far as I understand it. So this is your story. This was mostly pre social engineering side of things, right? Hacker for hire was more of a traditional pen testing type.
Yes. What I decided to do, I worked for a bank that was extremely tolerant and lenient for my weirdness. And one of the best things, I firmly believe you can't be a good blue teamer or a defensive person unless you really can fully understand how you're going to be attacked. It's like how real world attacks happen. And so I started back in 2006. It's like I started trying to do the testing side because I wanted to not build defenses like an honest person was going to build them, or like, because locks keep honest people out. It's like I wanted to build defenses like they were going to be attacked. So I would always put every one of my defenses were made in mind of me being the bad guy. I'm trying to rob you. It's like, how would I stop me from doing this? And I had that mindset even when I was doing physical security, 30 years ago. It's like I would always have, when I went to a new location, I was like, no, there should be a security camera right there, or there should be a guard placement here. I would look to see, it's like, how would I rob you? How would I actually do something bad? Let's make sure we protect against those. So I started doing that. I started doing pen test extra jobs and consulting work and subcontracting work for companies, doing network-based penetration testing. And I wasn't the greatest. It's like, got to be honest. It's like, I wasn't the greatest at it. It's like, usually most used a lot of tools. It's like, I did some things that were innovative. It's like, I did some things that were like out of the box. It's like from manual, but 90% of it was going to be, it was scripts. I have very bad self-esteem, and it's like, and I have a lot of confidence issues. So it's like, I didn't think I was ever going to be that good at it. And then back in 2000, 2010, 2009, I started getting more involved in the physical stuff. And that's when it clicked that I could use my physical security experience and use it on the offensive side. And so now it's like, and then I realized I'm really good at robbing people in person. It's like, so
it's like it's a weird skill to discover, right? You suddenly
exactly.
Oh wow, I can do this.
Yeah, it's like, and so I tell people, it's like, I don't know, I don't have to fully understand or know how to do a SQL injection on your website. I mean, I know, but I don't have to know that if I can walk into your server room and steal your SQL server. I've got all your databases. I don't have to drop anything. It's like they're going out the door with me. So
what drove that that awakening, or that awareness that refocused your efforts? Was there a turning point or a tipping point?
There was a. This is also, once again, getting too real. There was a talk by a guy who I was inspired by. And it made me want to get involved in it. He's turned out to be a major a-hole, and it's like and thought it was like, I was like, well, you're stealing my work. It's like, no, I didn't steal your work. I was inspired by your work. I just can't help it that I'm good at it. Don't get mad at me for that. Okay. It's like so, but but he did. It's like, and that's what I like. I've seen other people who give talks that are like similar to mine, and I feel happy about that because it's like I inspired them to do better, and that's great. It's like that's what you're supposed to be doing here. You're supposed to not have everybody just emulate you. They're supposed to like do better than you. They're supposed to go and do their own take and go their own direction with it. It's awesome. So I saw that and I was like, well, I want to do this. This is what I want to do. And I started doing it, and I just started going out, and the bank, once again, being tolerant of me, allowed me to do some of that to them. And it's like, and then go out and do it to others. And that's when it took off. It's like, and I started getting more and more involved in that part of it. And I realized that I could never be a good red teamer. Red teamer is all about compromise and exploit. I want it to be about education. So about 5 years ago, I stopped doing any kind of red teaming kind of action. I did security awareness engagements where I would literally go in and I would do all the red team kind of activity. I would break in, I'd plug in the rubber duckies, or it's like the Wi-Fi pineapples. It's like now I'm using the Bash Bunny and the new key croc from Hack 5, which is amazing, but that's another story. But it's like I'm starting using these tools to show where the potential threat is. I'm not putting an exploit. I'm not running code on their machines. I'm not stealing their data. I'm doing a demo. It's like I'm bringing out awareness to them. So therefore, they don't feel betrayed. It's like, and then I can educate them after I leave for 2 minutes, and I come back, and then I educate them on what they did wrong and how they need to be aware of people like me.
So I'm going to come back to that in a second, because that's one of the line items that I had definitely said we need to talk about this, because I agree that that's a critical part of upping the security game of any individual or organization, right? I mean, at the end of the day, especially when you're talking about social engineering, it's effectively down to individuals more so than organizations at the end of the day. But I wanted to give you a chance to, because one of the things, the expressions that I used in a tweet earlier on today when I was saying, make sure you don't miss this broadcast because, and now I don't want to let people down. I said that we would talk about extrication from sticky situations, because I know that has happened to you. Now, you can edit the names as much as you have to and as much as you like, but I know that you've, as a part of your professional engagements, been in some very interesting situations. And I'd love to hear a couple of war stories about, what did that involve? Where were you? What were you doing? What happened, and how did you get out of it?
Okay. I'll share a couple. Okay. The first one, which is like the elephant in the room, because everybody is one of the first things everybody refers to. Yes, I accidentally robbed the wrong bank one time in Beirut, Lebanon.
Everyone does that.
And who hasn't made mistakes before on the job? I'm not perfect. It's like, who hasn't robbed the wrong bank before? So that was intense and unfortunate. It was a word I used. I actually episode 6 of Darknet Diaries goes into that very well, and Jack Ryder did a great job on telling that story. So I won't bore you with that one again. Another one which was really good was in my not so paid professional aspect. Droning has gotten me into trouble a couple of times. And one of my favorites was I was at the Cape in South Africa, in Cape Town. It's like, and I was at the Cape of Good Hope, or Cape Horn, the very tippy tip of Africa. It's like right there. And I decided to go droning because YOLO. And my drone happens to be maybe slightly hacked, thank you KF, where it's like it disregards no-fly zones. So I never really know when there's a no-fly zone. I just don't know. It's like, was this a no-fly zone? Well, there was one time in Beijing but I'm not going to go into that one. But it's like, it's like, but I did not know there was a no-fly zone. So I'm flying my drone, and all of a sudden, these 2 park rangers come out, and they're like, "Oh wait, I don't know if I can."
You've gone too far to stop now. We know where you were, and we know what you were doing.
Crap. Okay. Okay. So I may be admitting to a felony, but okay. So it's like, so these 2 park rangers come back, who I don't know who they are, and it's like, and this is all innocent of me. So I'm putting that out there, and so they kind of like, you're going to jail now. You come to you're going with the police. You're going to jail. And I'm like, what's going on? It's like, oh no, I'm a very responsible droner. It's like, I did not know. It's like, and I literally, technically, I did not see the sign. It's like before, because the tour bus I was on, it wasn't in eye view, the sign. So I didn't know that this was a no-fly zone. It turns out there were signs, police. Who knew? It's like I ran into that problem at the Great Wall. But it's like, yeah, so it's like I did not see the signs. It's like, how's that my bad? And my drone flew. And so I'm talking them out, and it's like, and so they're like adamant, and then they're like taking so much time, and I'm like, and as I'm bringing my drone back, I'm driving it backwards so I can still get a good view. it's like as I'm flying back, it's like, and then I landed, and my friend, she quickly absconded. She was like, police, I'm out. It's like, so she was out there.
Not my drone, not my problem.
Yeah, exactly. April doesn't do crime, so she was gone. It's like, so I was like, thanks for the backup. And so I realized they were taking a long time. So I realized what could solve the situation. And in my naivety and my just honest to be a good public citizen, I just said, hey, I'm very under time constraints. It's like, and I should pay for my actions. It's like, this was wrong. So if I could pay the fine right now, could we just not have to worry about calling the police? It's like, I'm willing to pay the fine now. Here's 400 Rand. It's like, let me pay the fine. And so I was able to pay the fine there. Luckily, it's like, it was very official. It's like they were official people, and yep. I was able to pay the fine and then leave.
And I guess a lot of your experience from your physical pen testing exploits probably came into play. That
yes.
The situation calm, keeping yourself calm, and thinking of
exactly.
Pre-planning escape routes, right? While you're talking.
Oh, definitely. I have wandered into a lot of unusual places when I'm traveling, just to like, one time it's like, and I'm gonna go with this one because it's like, it's been like over 10 years. I think we're good. So I was in the Museum of Cairo. It's like in Egypt, Museum of Egypt. It's like, and it was the big one. And I had a video recorder pin on me, and a video recorder watch, and a video recorder flat. And it was so funny because there's no photography allowed in the museum. It's like, and for the record, I did buy the book. I did buy the museum book, because that's the only thing they want you. They don't want you to do flashes, and they don't want you to like take pictures so you can go and not have to buy their souvenirs. I bought lots of souvenirs. So I supported the museum. But my speaker friends were with me as well. It was a speaker tour from the conference that held the conference we were at, and so they were coming up to me going like, "Jayson, look over this way." They wanted me to take pictures with my watch. It's like, so I could like do it. So they weren't being very subtle at the fact that it's like I had all these options. So it's like, so I'm like, but I'm like just walking around, and then I finally, it's like, it turned out that the tour, it's like at the very end was the whatchamacallit, King Tut, the Tutankhamun exhibit.
Oh, yeah, I know what you mean.
And those freaking people in Egypt, they keep all the good stuff to themselves. Any tour you've seen a Tutankhamun and you've seen a museum tour or somewhere else, it's nothing compared to the one in Cairo. That's where the good stuff is. So I was already out of battery of my pen and my watch. So I've got my flashlight and I'm holding it up, and it's turned off, of course, because that would be bad. I've got I'm holding, and the guard comes up to me. He's like, no light. And I'm like, oh, don't worry, I'm not turning the flashlight on. It's like, so I get all these pictures. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Exactly. It was like, so that was a good one. So yeah, I've gotten into some scrapes like that. It's like and a couple run-ins with some other places and some other people that I don't even want to get into publicly.
What you were talking about earlier on when I said let's do some of these war stories, this is what I wanted to go back to. What you talk about in the context of these type of events and engagements is you talk about creating a teachable moment. Right?
Yes.
What is that?
Bank tellers. If a bank robber comes in with a ski mask and a shotgun, they're usually going to have a very bad day. And why is that? Because the tellers are trained, expecting, and learned how to respond to that kind of event. There are no stupid users, ever. It's like uneducated users always. It's like is the problem. It's like, so when you train the tellers that sometimes the threat's going to be a guy in a suit and a USB drive, that's when you get that extra security. We've been just training them about the ski mask and shotguns when they need to learn about, the suit and the USB drive. It's like, so that's what I do. I give them that moment. I give them the moment where they get to learn, hey, this is what else can happen. It's like, it's just, it's not their job to understand all the different ways they can be attacked. That's a responsibility of the security department. Security departments for too long have been lazy and bad, basically, by just saying stupid user clicked on a link. Stupid user went to a website. Stupid information security didn't properly train their users. It's like, and so that's what I provide. I provide that real world example. So now the employees can get it. They can make that connection that, hey, this is what's going on. This is what needs to work.
That's got to be kind of delicate. And I'm sure there are a lot of organizations out there who would like to begin to think about how they can create those teachable moments themselves for their own employees. It must be, and I know, for example, a lot of companies do phishing exercises, right? Phishing simulations, the real low-level kind of version of that sort of thing. One of the things that you have to deal with as a trainer, if you want to use that expression in those circumstances, is the reaction of the person being trained. It's got to be a pretty delicate situation. So how do you stop them feeling like an idiot? How do you stop them feeling to blame? How do you turn it into a positive, a situation where they have basically fallen for something and they're sitting there feeling maybe a little bit stupid? How do you turn that into something positive for them? What do organizations and individuals need to do to create a training that doesn't alienate the people that they're trying to train?
Yeah, it's true. I actually, I've taught a class. It's like a co-taught Black Hat with April Wright. It's like on creating a security awareness training program. And one of the key things that you focus on is always the positive reinforcement. It's like, we've done so much on the negative, like you could be terminated, you could be fired if you do this. Why are we, whenever I do an engagement, I have never recorded a person's name. I've never recorded a person's name who's failed, but I always get caught. That is one of the key things. If I have not gotten caught by the third day of the engagement by an employee doing the actual good job, I will deliberately go out of my way to lessen my threat. It's like, and try to be more obvious. And I keep being more obvious. I was so obvious one time to where I actually had to unplug a desktop server that was behind the teller line of a bank that was being used, and then walk out the door with it. And I was actually walking almost out through the teller line before the employee decided that he should question me why I was taking it. And as soon as he questioned, I was like, oh, you got me. Good job. What's your name? Yeah. That was the way you're supposed to do it. Always give them a win. And we need to start making it competitive. It's like, users don't care about security. It's like, it's an inconvenience until you make it something about them. If you report a suspicious email, you get one entry into a quarterly lottery that you get $1,000 or €1,000 or some kind of prize. You get this €1,000 prize or $1,000 prize every quarter. And the more times you do a report, or you report something, or you do good behavior, guess what? That's how another entry you get into win that lottery. And it's not the same kind of, like, not all the things are the same. If it was an actual phishing compromise, that's like 10 points. That's 10 entries. It's like, if you stop someone that was trying to piggyback behind you, that's like 5 entries. It's like,
there are things that are really uncomfortable to do, right? Even when you've been in the game for a long time, there's some things that almost go against every aspect of socialization that we learn about being helpful, being friendly, being polite. You're taught from a very early age to hold the door open for the person behind you. You don't let it slam in their face. And then for security purposes within an enterprise environment, that's absolutely not what you can do because of things like tailgating. So when I was talking about that kind of mindset in a presentation, I think it was last year actually, and I was saying the two most important things, to my mind anyway, and I'd be really curious to hear your perspective on this, because this is your area of specialization. For me, the two most important things that you can do, one is, and I was talking actually with reference to attacks like business email compromise, which don't really rely on malicious files or traditional malware type attacks. They're more about, you've got to compromise someone's email account, sure, but once you've done that, it's about creating believable emails to get someone to make a financial transfer, that kind of stuff, right?
Yeah.
And for me, the two most important things were empower your employees, make sure everybody knows that they have the absolute right and they will be supported in saying no. Even to the CEO, if the thing that they're being asked to do is going outside of policy or procedure, they have the full right and are expected to, even to the CEO, say no, and make sure you empower them to be able to do that. That they don't
100%
feel like position authority is going to be a thing. And the second is to create a mindset within all of your employees that you are a part personally, whatever you do in the company, you're a part of that defense. And if you want to get to my company, you've got to go through me first. And for me, if you can do those two things, you've gone a long way to mitigating a lot of those human-centric threats within an organization. Is that right? Am I way off base?
No, that's gold. That is what I've been preaching. I mean, like literally preaching for years, for decades. It's like the key thing is, day one of your job, you need to understand from the mailroom to the CEO, you're part of the security team. Your job is to make the widgets and secure the widgets. Your job is to market the widgets and secure the widgets. It's like, it's always about, there's a security factor. It's like this. It's like we hire delivery drivers. You don't ever hire a delivery driver, give them the keys to the van and saying, okay, well, we hired you. You must know what you're doing. You can go off on your own now. Yeah. No. You explain to them, it's like, hey, these are what our rules dictate. It's like, and you have to wear your seatbelt. You have to use your turn signals. Those are all security devices. It's like there's airbags in the vehicle for security. It's like there's a car alarm for security. You give them all those security tips when you're doing. Why not with the computer? It's like that's part of the job, is that they need to understand how to secure what they're working on, not just do the work on it. And if they don't realize that's part of their job responsibility, then they don't care.
Yeah,
because they're only doing like humans, it's human nature. They're doing what they need to do to get paid. And if that's not explained to them, then they're not going to do it.
What they need to do someone a favor. They're doing things like what they need to do to be helpful or friendly. This is all part of being human, right? And that's all the kind of things that your attacks will take advantage of. That desire.
Exactly. When you said, going back to what you said about the tailgate and being rude, it's like, because I broke it into a building before in a wheelchair. It's like, and you're like, oh my God, Jayson, you're horrible. Yes, I'm trying to rob you. What part of rob you did not you make it understand that I'm a bad guy? It's like I'm trying to. We've already established my ethics and morals. I'm committing a crime. It's like, so yeah, it's like, I'm sorry I hurt your feelings by betraying your. So what you do, and this is another key function, when you've trained your staff, you allow your staff to not be the bad guy. Instead of teaching your staff that they have to stop someone, that's not what you want them to do.
Okay.
When an employee is being tailgated, their response is, you're not allowed in here. No. Their response is, I would love to let you through, but there's security cameras here and there, and security says that you're not allowed to go and past me, and then I'd get in trouble. It's like, and I don't want to get in trouble. It's like, and I would normally do this. It's like, and I know that you're legit, but it's like, you have to go check it with security. It's like, that's required. It's like, it's not me. It's like, if I had my way to do it, it's like, I would totally do it, but it's them. Those a-holes over there.
It's also situationally dependent as well, because what I noticed recently, because I have a 1-year-old who was in nursery until pandemic, supposed to be in nursery. The one place where no one really gets offended that you basically shut the door in their face is at the door to the nursery, because everyone gets the reasoning. Right. So I think some of it is just about creating that level of mutual understanding that there's a reason, there's a purpose, and then it becomes fine, right? Everyone understands that we need to protect the kids that are in the nursery building from strangers going in and picking up kids that don't belong to them, for example, right? So everyone's cool with that. So you need to be able to translate that to an enterprise environment.
Exactly. And one of the things that helped me with that, it's like to get that through when I first worked at the internet bank back in 2000, was I explained it very succinctly as this. The day that the vault was that big shiny thing in the lobby of the bank is over. That's not where the money is. The vault is now that terminal that you're sitting in front of.
Right.
It's like, and when we understand that and you teach your employees that their livelihood is at stake with every single one of those machines inside your building, or when you're transporting that machine, they're transporting their company secrets, their company product with them. It's like that's when you start getting a better buy into security. It's like, because one of the threat models that you can do is like, it's like following people as they leave the building and seeing when they stop. Because it's like when I look and do research, I show executives a map of Google and I show them at least 5 different restaurants, 5 different grocery stores, and 5 different petrol gas stations within a 1-mile radius of their facility. And I tell them quite quickly, it's like, hey, this is where your employees are stopping off before they get home.
Right.
To catch the bread, to go get the milk. It's like to go and gas up. And that's when I can steal their laptop because they've left it in the car, possibly in the front seat even. It's like, so it's like, that's where their badges are going to be hanging from the rearview mirror. It's like, so those are the things that you can explain and you express to them. It's like, your data is always going to be at risk because it's not just a computer. It's not just losing $1,000 for a laptop. It's losing millions. And if you look at it and they look at it that like, oh, this person's trying to steal millions from me, then yeah, there's a lot of things someone would try to do. It's like, I mean, maybe not George Clooney, Ocean's 11 kind of crazy, but you know, Looney Tunes kind of crazy that I do all the time. Yes, it's like I do it. So I tell people this stuff's so easy, even I can do it. It's like I do not do sophistication. It's like
So
people talk.
How about some crystal ball gazing then? Because one of the things that I'm kind of thinking through right now, that obviously the COVID-19, the global pandemic, the lockdown, the basic, the freezing of society and the freezing of everything that we've regularly been doing. There's different phases in different countries and is opening up at different phases. So a lot of people are saying how it's going to change society forever, how it's going to change the way that we work, the way that we socialize. I'm not of that school.
Yeah,
I don't think this won't be a forever change on a massive scale. It will definitely be a massive scale, short to medium term change. Certainly within Europe, anyway. How businesses come back, how offices come back, how public transport is used, how pubs, restaurants reopen, all of those things. So there will be short to medium term some very, very big changes. How would you leverage those as a social engineer? How would you take advantage of recent societal change? I realize I'm totally springing this on you, so you're thinking on your feet. But given the way that society has changed over the past few weeks, what new opportunities or new avenues for attack would that present someone in your profession or someone who was a real bad guy?
From social engineering, it's like it's different than the other way. It's like when if you're doing red teaming social engineering, I do think because there's like ethical debates going on Twitter between other social engineers going like, do you use COVID-19 in your phishing attacks?
Yeah.
It's like, and my thing is like, I'm not trying to be a social engineer. I'm trying to be a criminal. It's like, I'm trying to attack you like a criminal would, not some kind of sophisticated, showy little, oh, look what I did. It's like crap. No, I'm down and dirty basic. It's like, I call it not APT. I don't do advanced, persistent, or threatening. It's like, I do basic, adorable destruction. I'm just bad. It's like, I'm just bad. It's like, so that's what I try to do. And so I always go back to an email I received 2 days after the Boston bombing. It's like I received an email from after the Boston bombing, and it said Boston bombing, in 3 exclamation points in the subject line. And then in the body of the message, it was an IP address So just numbers / Boston.html. And I looked at that and I was like, first of all, from a professional standpoint, I was like, yo, bro, you ain't even trying. This is like, up your game. It's like, this is, yeah. But then I thought about it and I was like, my daughter was racing in the Boston the Boston Marathon. It's like, if I had relatives there, it's like the cell phone towers are saturated. It's like, I can't get through. Would I click? Because humans desire information during a time of crisis. They just always on the television, always trying to consume, trying to find out. That's why disinformation is so effective. It's because they're reaching for lifelines, and that's the news. That's information. And so that was a valid attack. So that was about it because someone would click that because they're desperate to find out. And so if you're not teaching companies that those kind of threats are out there and are being used, the tsunami, it's like event. It's like, I mean, that hundreds of thousands of people died. It's like, and by the way, how much did that change the tourism and the way that people operate in the South?
Absolutely.
1918. How did the culture change? It's like, or for how long? It's like, so yeah. So I don't see us changing that much. Humans are creatures of habit, and it's like, in humans like normalcy.
Yeah.
Humans don't want to feel threatened, so they will do everything and unfortunately give up their rights for that normalcy. It's like, and that's what we have to be more afraid of right now. I'm more afraid of our governments right now than I am afraid of criminals attacking us.
I was thinking though more like, like, would it give you an opportunity to walk into a workplace wearing a homemade uniform and you're the COVID-19 inspector, or actually, wow. I remember when I first got my first job in a real office, must have been late 80s, I think, like 1988, 89, something like that. There was a lady that used to come around regularly. I don't know if it was daily or weekly, but she used to come around and sanitize all the handsets on all the telephones.
Mm.
She would literally come around with a cloth and she'd be like wiping the handsets and cleaning. Surely the changes in working practices with social distancing in the office, no more hot desking, a respectable and measurable distance between you and the people around you, that's got to open some interesting avenues for you to create new stories, if you like.
Yeah, I would say that it's like, I would go with this. It's like, quite honestly, it's like, there are new avenues to do that from that, but why? It's like, I mean, my friend April, she got me a CDC shirt.
Mm-hmm.
I literally have a legit CDC, Center for Disease Control Prevention shirt. I'm never going to use that on an engagement. It's like my basic Saturday Night Live work shirt that says "Your company's computer guy" has literally gotten me into secured locations in New York. Even it's like right across the street from Ground Zero. It's like I've worn a shirt that said hacker on it in Malaysia when I was robbing a hotel in Malaysia, and the shirt said hacker. I don't think people need to use COVID or this pandemic as a way to get in. There are avenues that you can use it in, yes. And it's good for you to do and create and write out scenarios to give to your users so they can be aware of those scenarios. But there's not necessarily a reason for an attacker to use those. It's like a social engineer or a red teamer or someone professionally. It's like, it's good for them to be aware. It's good for them to know these attacks, but not actually do it. There's too many other good ones that are still useful.
Exactly how. So, when I've given talks at places in the past, I've on more than one occasion had people approach me afterwards and questions like, "Hey, Rik, why are you talking to us about security basics? We want to hear about the most intricate and advanced APT that you've dealt with in the last 12 months, or tell us about some fantastic 0 days." And the answer, which I have to give people, because I think it's important to be straight and honest, the answer that you have to give people is, you don't need to worry about that stuff. That's not the stuff really that's relevant to your business. And I suppose
exactly,
this is the same thing with physical, right? That criminals are not going to innovate or change unless we force them to innovate or change by fixing the basics. And right now, that's not what we're doing as professionals within organizations.
You can tell how old we are because we over our career we've come to these same conclusions, and we're like hitting our head against this. You're like on the same wall that I'm on, just next to it, beating our heads up against that same wall. It's like I totally agree with you on that. It's like, because I tell people, it's like one of the things that gets me with some of these red teamers, especially with some of these people with these egos about like, oh, I'm gonna break in and I'm gonna go through the skylight, or I'm gonna like do all these kind of things to circumvent it. And I'm like, that's great. You give that report to your client, your client's going to be going, oh, good, we're protected.
Yeah.
And you're like, what are you talking about? I showed you all these things. Like, yeah, but you did all this ninja nation state stuff. It's like, we don't have to worry about that. That's not our threat model.
Yeah.
I literally robbed a bank one time within 2 minutes and 22 seconds from walking in the front door to having full access for over 30 minutes behind the teller line. It's like installing malware, spinning around in the chair. And all I did was I walked in and started talking. So, what's your defense to that? How do you defend against that? It's like, you don't have a defense against that. You can't say, oh, I don't have to worry about that. Mother, you have to worry about someone like me just going YOLO and let's see if I can get in and plug a device in. It's my shortest time from the bank door to a compromise, 15 seconds, and it's on film. It's like 15 seconds.
You just used an expression which is kind of industry standard, but I think it's one that a lot of people, practitioners, don't understand, or maybe don't practice, one or the other or both. And that expression is threat modeling, right?
Yes.
It's definitely something which doesn't happen a lot.
Yes.
Tell us about threat modeling.
Threat modeling is something a lot of people in our industry don't have a good concept on. It's like, our threat modeling is understanding that my threat model is not going to be the same as your threat model. It's like a bakery has to have protection. They have to have security protocols in place. Not the same kind of security protocols as a delivery company or as a bank. It's like, those are all different kinds of threat models. Some need confidentiality more guarded. Some need availability. It's like some places can go days without internet presence being used. It's like, without anybody having to worry about their website if their website goes down. Others will lose their company if that business website is down for more than a day. Yeah. It's like others can go without email. Some can't. It's like, it's all about the threat modeling. We need to understand, it's like, and this is one of the things that gets me, especially when someone does a picture or something, and they release a picture and they go like, oh, look at your horrible OPSEC. I know exactly where you are. And I'm like, mother, that risk is mitigated for this and this reason. It's like, I shouldn't have to worry about you figuring out where I'm at, because it's like, you're not in my threat model for that. It's like a lot of these people that are like just innocent, just civilians, just going out and doing it. If I'm, a foreign military person, and I happen to be occupying another country's place, and one of my soldiers, and this is actually a true story, decides to tweet out, a tweet and stuff, and a picture that gives the geolocation of the fact that, oh, yes, we are actually invading this country. That's a problem. That's a problem.
Threat model, right?
Okay. If I am a woman, it's like, and I'm in a bikini and I'm on a beach, and it's like, and all you're seeing is sand and all this stuff. And it's like, and this is just at a one-time thing where it's like, I'm just visiting. It's like, you know what? That's not bad OPSEC. That's
so
being
threat modeling is basically helping people to have the realization that they don't have to protect all the things all the time. It's risk management.
Exactly. Figure out what your business does. One of the things that security needs to do, and I am telling you, I am not a hypocrite. I failed at this when I first started in information security. It's like, I did not take seriously what my company did for a business. I thought I need to make sure they have firewalls, antivirus. I need to make sure they have IDS. I needed to make sure they had all those things in place. That was a disservice to those companies, because what I needed to know was how they made money, how their processes worked. I needed to know what each process was. I needed to know how they were and what went down, how bad it would affect the company overall. Right. And then I could start protecting it, because This threat model here, that's the threat modeling thing, because you'll find out that, oh, this is a threat. I didn't even realize this would be a threat, but this is a threat versus just having a firewall being breached.
What do I have? Who do I have? Who has access to what? Why? Through what process?
Exactly. More professional way of saying it. Yes. It's like, it's like, so yeah, but I mean, that's what we need to start doing. So we need to start looking at it from that and stop, and not just victim shaming, but stop, threat shaming. It's like, it's like, oh, well, dude, you didn't do this. Or it's like, oh, what about this? I can figure out. It's like, no, that's not their threat model. That's not their risk. And I'm sorry. We have gone so far from the place where we're about eliminating risk. Your job is not to eliminate risk. Okay? It is beyond impossible in this day and age. Your job is to mitigate as much risk as you possibly can. Then you go to your executives and you tell them, here's how much, with the budget that we have and the technology that we have in place, this is how much risk we've mitigated. Now, if you want to invest this much money or make these policy changes, we can mitigate this much more. It's like, and at the end of the day, even if you let us mitigate this much more risk, you're still going to have this much or this much more risk that you're going to have to accept, because, like it or not, the internet's necessary.
For me, it's not risk mitigation, right? That's one strategy. For me, it's the core of it is working out what to do about risk. Some of it you're going to mitigate. Some of it you're going to have a budget for, and you're going to spend the budget, and you're going to mitigate the risk. However, you're going to mitigate the risk, whatever.
Right.
Some of it you're going to offset. That's equally legit strategy.
I forgot about that. Yes, offsetting the risk. Yes, there's some that you can offset through third-party contracts and SLAs and things like that. Yeah,
contracts, you just offset it, and that's still a strategy. You don't have to mitigate it. Get some insurance. That's a great offset for some stuff. It's worked out really great against ransomware for some companies, for example. Although it funds cybercrime long term. Discussion.
But there's still something you got to accept.
Right. The third strategy, and again, totally legit strategy with risk, is accept.
Yes.
It's risk. That's okay. That's totally okay. You don't have to protect all the things all the time. We're coming up on the hour. I've got one more question I want to ask you in the chat there that's come in live, because we started off talking about quarantine, and there's a question coming from Erin Johnson who says, what has been your best hacker adventure during the quarantine period? Limited opportunities, I guess, for hacker adventures, right?
Yeah, it's been. I actually have a hashtag on Twitter where I call it isolated hacker adventures. It's like basically, I got a trike, a Can-Am Riker, and it's a 3-wheeled motorcycle, and it has been my lifeline. It's like I went through a really rough year in 2018. In 2019, I was just skimping along. I was not doing well either. I was just making it do. And then November of 2019, I got Talon, which is the name of the bike. And that started giving me that, like, oh, okay, I can go and do things. I can go out and stuff. It started giving me the thing to go do.
Lust for life.
Exactly. And it's like, and it just gave me that drive to leave the house, because I was like literally just camped. I did not leave my lab at all. It's like, as you can tell, I'm not there now. So it's like I was just like for 2 years just in there suffering. And so Talon gave me this lifeline. So during quarantine, I've done a game, and my bike's in the shop, or about to be in the shop, for 2 weeks, and it's sad. But what I've done with Talon was I would pick a place on Google Maps that was within 100 miles of my house. And I went to Security, Texas. There is a little township called Security. And in that township of Security, Texas, there's a church. And it's the Security First Baptist Church. And so, like 11 o'clock at night, in the middle of the night, I just drove. It's like 60, 70 miles to Security, Texas. So I get a picture in front of a bus, a church bus that said Security First Baptist Church. And then I got a bonus one on that one, because I went through, to get there, I went through Cut and Shoot, Texas. Oh, Texas, don't ever change. It's like, and so I got a picture in front of cut and shoot Texas City Hall. It's like so. And I went to the San Jacinto Monument at midnight. I went to the Seawall in Galveston at 1 a.m. It's like I went to places where people weren't. And it's like, and that was my isolated hacker adventure. I would just go ride to ride. And I've literally gone in big circles. I mean, I would just literally just not even stop once. It was literally just, I'm going to go to see where this road ends. And then when I find out where the road ends, I'm going to turn around and come back.
So one other thing, you've done, you've done a lot so far in your life, and you'll continue to go on and do many more and even greater things. But one of the things that you have done that I am intensely jealous of, because I wish I could motivate myself enough to get on with it, is be a published author. You've published three semi-fiction works, right?
No, 2 right now. I'm working on the conclusion of the trilogy, the Dissecting the Hacker trilogy, the Interdict Network, which is the 3rd one. Is all the quarantine sort of messed up the creative process for me, but I am trying to get that pushed out by this year. So
that's the question: what's going on with Dissecting the Hack?
I'm concluding it. It's going to be a very final trilogy. It's like that's the only spoiler I'm going to give out. It's going to be very final, too final for some people, but it's going to give way to a new series that I'm working called the Digital Ronin series, where this new character gets introduced and it goes on. And I'm also at the same time writing the 3rd book through SphereNY, my day job. It's like. And working with my my boss, supervising adult guy, Jason Burns, I'm creating a book for the everyday person. It's not a fictional story. It's a narrative, and then it's educational, and it's like, and it talks about how attacks work and how to defend against them and how to respond to them.
So like a handbook for the potential victim.
Exactly, and it's like, and it's not for, and it's 100%. Security people and IT people will get benefit from it, but they are not the target audience. Mm-hmm. The target audience is the accountant. The target audience is the school teacher, the nurse, the sanitation worker. Just the regular person just doing their job. And security and computer security really isn't that much of a thought to them. That's what this book is geared for.
I'm looking forward to reading that. It sounds like a really worthwhile project. Jayson, it's been an absolute pleasure. I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for agreeing to be on this live broadcast when you had no idea what it was. We hadn't done it yet. I just kind of came to you out of the blue and said, hey, come do this thing with me. And you're like, absolutely, yes.
Always want to help.
Thank you so much. It's been a real pleasure having you on. I hope the rest of your day goes swimmingly. And I look forward to seeing you again in person soon. Jayson, thanks so much for joining us.
Definitely. Hugs in the future, my friend. Thank you.
Cheers. Thank you as well for joining us. That was another hour that just flew by. I can't believe before last week's episode with Katie, I was unbelievably nervous about sitting here broadcasting live across all of these platforms, especially when anything can happen, like someone trying to phone me on my Mac while I'm talking to you. I was unbelievably nervous about all of this stuff, and the people that I'm talking to, and I have a fantastic roster of other guests coming up, are just making me feel so comfortable. I hope you're enjoying the conversations with them as much as I have. Once again, thank you very much for joining us. I've been Ron Burgundy, and you stay classy, San Diego.